Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to the Time to Grow Up podcast. My name is Jaslyn, and today we're getting into a really fun topic called people pleasing. And that's something I've struggled with honestly my whole life, and I thought it would be fun to do a little episode on how me and you are going to stop people pleasing in 2025. So that's all what this episode is about today. But before we begin, I do want to start adding in some fun little segments that we can kind of discuss and chat in the comments and stuff. So I want to start doing grown up moments of the week. Since this podcast is all about growing up, we can always highlight something that we're doing to kind of elevate our lives in that previous week. So this past week, something grown up I did, I guess, is that I got my wisdom teeth taken out. I have had a extreme fear of the dentist and not liking people in my mouth, especially at the dentist, because that's what they do, is they dig in your mouth. And I got my wisdom teeth taken out. So if you are watching the video recording, I do have some swelling on my face, but I want to make sure that I'm consistent, so I had to record a video today because I'm off today, because today is actually Monday when I'm filming, but I took the day off because my wisdom teeth, so my face is a little swollen, but I'm very proud because I never got my wisdom taken out when I was a teenager like normal people do, because I don't know why, I just didn't. So I got them done and I feel great. The pain isn't as bad as I thought. I thought it would be bruised up and everything, but I literally just have a small bruise from one tooth that I had to take out. But that is my grown-up moment of the week. If you have any moments, let us know in the comments of the YouTube video, and then I'm gonna be on the Instagram so you can comment it on there as well. But like I was saying, we're gonna be talking about people pleasing, which is something I've struggled with my entire life, especially as a woman and kind of an only child too. I feel like only children can become people pleasers a lot as well, because you don't have any siblings or anything, so you're kind of always trying to please your parents because you're the only child. Maybe that's just a me thing, but that's something I kind of relate to. So let's first talk about what is a people pleaser. So I kind of looked up the definition. It says a people pleaser is someone who constantly puts the needs of others before their own. And I think this is an important topic for people in our 20s, because if you are people pleasing, you're always telling other people yes. So that means you're telling yourself no, and you can never really figure out who you truly are if you keep saying yes to everyone but yourself. And there are times that I do want to say no, but I don't, because I feel like people are going to get mad, or people are gonna get confrontational, or people are just gonna not like what I have to say, so I end up disagreeing with them, when that is just saying no to myself and not really getting me to the place I want to be at. So here are some signs that you might be a people pleaser, because like I said, I was journaling, which actually, let me get my journal really quick. If you're listening to audio, you won't be able to see this, but I just pulled out my journal and I'm gonna kind of read what I wrote about people pleasing, because it was a really big epiphany to me. So hold on. Today, I truly realized I'm a people pleaser, putting others' emotions/needs before my own, having a hard time saying no, and feeling resentful and upset that I have no time for myself. I honestly think this started because I hate conflict and disagreements, which is very true. I feel in these situations I make my ideas small or not as important or interesting, and only focusing on pleasing others. So after I wrote that entry, I kind of looked up the signs of a people pleaser, and I literally am all of these. So let's talk about the signs of a people pleaser. So signs of your people pleaser: difficulty saying no, avoiding conflict, you apologize frequently, feeling resentful, lacking boundaries, and you seek validations from others. I feel like this little section just really called me out a lot, because I can see myself in all of these situations. I have trouble saying no. I hate conflict. I apologize frequently for stuff that doesn't really need apologizing for. And sometimes, especially because I'm an introvert, if I don't really get that time alone or that time of peace, I feel resentful because I feel like everybody's taking up my time. Not saying that I don't want them to take up my time, but I just need some time to recharge, and when I don't get that after a long day, I feel resentful, and I kind of have to take my time back, and that ends up with me staying up super late when I don't need to. And lacking boundaries, which I have realized that I do a lot. So I think people pleasers really come about, especially when as a child you're prioritized to put others' emotions or well-being above your own. And I think this is really true for women in general, because we are taught growing up that you need to sometimes put your parents' emotions over yourself, or maybe even siblings. If you're an older child and you kind of take on that motherly figure, you kind of have to take on other people's emotions and other people's stuff over yourself, because you want to make sure everybody is good before yourself. And I can see that as me. I was an only child, so I didn't really have that. But I did see myself kind of trying to take on the emotions of like my parents or my friends around me because I wanted them to be happy and I didn't want them to have to worry about me. So I would kind of just do what I need to do and like just push everything else to the side. We usually become people pleasers because we are in situations that do not feel safe to express our own thoughts, feelings, or needs. This is really scary because we are hardwired to be in relationships with others, and we have an innate need for love and belonging, which even furthers and feeds our people-pleasing tendencies. So when I wrote this, I think I was thinking that like humans are literally hardwired to want to be in relations with people and like have connection and build community. So when you are always like, okay, I want to build community, I want to make friends, so I'm going to do everything that they want to do, and I'm going to make sure that I'm being the best person for them, when you should just take a moment and pause and be like, is this even the type of person or I want to be friends with or want to be in relationship with? But in a lot of moments, me specifically, I think like, oh well, I should just do what they want and not what I want because I want to be friends with somebody, you know? I also think people pleasing can be a product of childhood, especially like as a child, if you seeked approval from parents and teachers, which I'm not saying I was a teacher's pet or anything, but I did like getting a little bit of a boost from like getting good grades or getting a good achievement in school, but I would never appreciate those, like the actual accomplishment. I would appreciate the praise of the accomplishment, if that makes sense. So I think that is something that, like, I am not the type of person that celebrates big goals. So I feel like it's just one thing after the next. Like, it's kind of like expected for me to do these things. So me not taking that moment to really appreciate and value myself and all the hard work I put into it could also be like, girl, you're just doing what you think you need to do and not appreciating the time and effort you put into things that you do. Another cultural norm, especially for women, that it reinforces the need to be agreeable, and maybe even it could come from like low self-esteem or fear of rejection. So if you've always been the type of person who feels like they get rejected from like friends or family or even like career things, then you might try to like change your mindset into being a people pleaser by just going with the flow and being like, okay, well, if this is gonna make, if I do this, like peer pressure, if I go out drinking or if I go do something that I'm not really comfortable with, but people that are my age are going to be there that I could become friends with, then I'm going to do it. Some motivations of people pleasers, which I never thought to really dig deep into, think like, why am I a people pleaser? Because not everybody who is born grows up to be a people pleaser. I have people in my life who don't take crap from anybody. I'm just like, how do you do that? Like, it's so crazy to think that people just don't go along with what everyone says. Like, how do you do it? So I did look up some motivations of people pleasers. It says trying to control the thoughts of others. You may put pressure on yourself to do things perfectly or be the best because that way you can make sure that others think highly of you, which is something that I do a lot. I think that's more of a work thing for me, is like, I always want to put my best foot forward because I want to control what I look like to others, because I don't want to seem that I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like that is a big people pleaser thing of me. Next is defining personal worth by approval or validation of others. This may sound like, if I do enough for others, I will feel like I'm good enough. That really just read me for filth, because it's like, and then it says, these thoughts and ways of being can make it hard to develop a sense of self, since we are always shifting to be what you think others want you to be. So if you're always shifting your personality and persona of what you want others to think you are, you're never really coming to that full version of yourself that you love and that you appreciate, because you're always changing yourself. You're kind of like a chameleon, I think. I think people pleasers are really like chameleons, because we're always changing ourselves to versions of people that we don't even like. We're just changing for the situation. And some consequences of being a people pleaser is burnout and stress, resentment, and a loss of identity and self-awareness. Now, I obviously think burnout and stress of you pretending to be someone that you're not, or always putting your needs in the back burner, can always lead to stress and resentment. Especially, I know I used to resent friends, especially in college, because I would always want to be doing something with people because I wanted to have friends. I would always put myself in situations of like, one, I don't really enjoy drinking. I don't really like being out past like 12 a.m., but I would do it because people my age are doing it, or people that I were roommates with wanted to do it. And it's like, if you don't want to do it, then you don't have to do it just because everyone else is doing it. And you don't have to put your feelings and what you like to do under others because you want to seem cool, or you want to seem like you're okay with doing this stuff when you really aren't. Now, here's some ways to kind of shift your mindset if you are a people pleaser and you are working on it. The first thing I would do is to realize what your triggers are and identify situations or people that feel like you need to please them. So maybe it's a friend or family member, a boss, and you want to start small. Just practice setting boundaries and gradually building up to bigger ones. So maybe that is saying no to hanging out one weekend because you want to work on something at home, or you just don't feel like going out, and just starting to say no to really take that time back for yourself. Next, you have to reframe your negative self-talk. So you could replace your thoughts of like, I have to make everybody happy with, it's okay to prioritize my own needs. And you have to learn to say no. I know that's like the hardest thing ever, is to say no, because you're always used to saying yes and agreeing with everyone. But like I said, once you start saying no to other people, you're starting to say yes to yourself, and that's really what matters at the end of the day. And you have to accept that some of these conversations will be uncomfortable, because I feel like people pleasers, they always want to keep the peace. They always want to avoid conflict as much as they can. But to have true relationships, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be bumps in the road. And I would rather be friends with someone who understands me and understands what I like, and we still have disagreements, than just riding the wave of like not really getting to know someone because you're always agreeing with them and not trying to have real, meaningful conversations with them. Next, let's talk about some scenarios when it comes to people pleasing, because I feel like a lot of people get into these common scenarios and they're like, okay, well, if I don't want to be a people pleaser anymore, what am I supposed to do? So I wrote some about friends, family, work, and also yourself, because I think you can be a people pleaser to yourself if you aren't putting yourself first. So here's one when it comes to friends. If you're known as the friend who's always available to help, even if it means canceling on your own plans or sacrificing much needed downtime, but your friend asks you to help them move this weekend, but you already have a self-care day planned. Here's how I would kind of gently let this friend down and be like, no, I need to take some time to yourself. I would recognize like, hey, I've been doing stuff for friends all month and I need a weekend just for myself, and respond with like, hey, I'd love to help, but right now I'm just at capacity and I really can't take on something onto my plate. Let me know if there's another day that I can come over and help you unpack and organize once you get moved in. Now, let's do a situation where maybe a family member has made you do some people pleasing tendencies that you are not really comfortable with. So here's a scenario. Your family often relies on you to handle everything from organizing gatherings to solving disputes. This leaves you feeling overwhelmed and responsible for everyone else's happiness. This one, I would let your family know what your boundaries are. So you could say, I'm happy to plan part of the event, but I cannot take on the entire responsibility at this time. Maybe encourage delegating some tasks like, hey, Aunt Sue, maybe you could do this, and Uncle Jim can do this. So you can kind of lighten the load and kind of say, like, this is a family gathering. This is not just me planning an event for all of you guys. And understand that maybe everyone won't do the things that you would do to plan this event, but it's also taking that pressure and that expectation off you to get everything done perfectly. Next one we have is a work scenario. Your boss or coworkers regularly ask you to take on extra tasks because they know you'll say yes, even if your own workload is already heavy. This has led to late nights and stress. So in this, I would take a moment to think like, hey, what is my schedule really looking like, and do I have the capacity to take on this project? And the answer is no, then just respond professionally. You could say, I'm currently managing several key tasks and want to ensure that they're completed to the best standard. Would you like me to prioritize this new task over one of my current responsibilities, or is there flexibility in the deadline? And maybe you'll just have to say no. I don't have the capacity for additional tasks at this time, but I'm happy to revisit this at a later time when my plate is a little bit empty and I can take on some other things. The last one I have is setting boundaries and being a people pleaser to yourself, because I feel like not a lot of people think about that you could be a people pleaser to yourself, and maybe you're just always doing things that you want instantly, like an instant gratification type thing, instead of thinking about what will get me to my goal if I delay gratification and have a little bit more discipline with my goals. You struggle to set boundaries with yourself and often commit to personal challenges or goals because you feel like you should do them, even if they aren't meaningful to you. This leads to guilt when you don't meet these self-imposed expectations. Now, for this situation, I would reevaluate priorities. Reflect on why you feel the need to commit to these goals. Are they aligned with your true values, or are they influenced by others' opinions or societal pressures? Set realistic, y'all know I love that word, realistic, aligned goals. Shift your mindset to focus on goals that generally resonate with you. Replace I should with I choose to create a sense of empowerment. So maybe I choose to work out before I go to work. I choose to write in my journal before I go to bed. I choose to read my book instead of scrolling on my phone. And also, you could practice self-validation. Acknowledge that your worth isn't determined how much you do or achieve. Regularly remind yourself, I'm valuable just as I am. So if you are a person that struggles with validation from others for doing like big accomplishing goals, make sure that you're appreciating yourself for just breathing, for just existing, for just getting up, because that can be hard some days, and you don't always have to do something extravagant and crazy to deserve appreciation from yourself. So as I go on my journey of not being a people pleaser anymore, I do find myself saying no a lot more often, and kind of just taking a minute to reflect and say, is this actually something that I want to do, or is this something that I think I should do because my friend or my family member said or asked me to do it? And I think people pleasing is like an everyday thing. Like you're not gonna solve this issue or problem overnight. And some days it's okay to be a people pleaser. If you just want to be nice, then you just want to be nice, and you don't have to think of people pleasing being this terrible thing that you should want to get over and never want to be again. This was kind of a short episode. I do have some journal prompts for you all, and I will get into those now. So here's some journal prompts, and let me know if you answer any of these. If you want to share your response in the comments on the Instagram, then you can, or in the YouTube. So here's a couple of the prompts. Do I avoid expressing my true feelings or opinions to avoid conflict? Why? Have I sacrificed my own goals or values to make others happy? Do I communicate my needs and boundaries effectively? And last, do I seek external validation as a measure of self-worth? Now, I know these questions are a little hard, heavy, but I think these are some very eye-opening questions if you do struggle with trying to please others and not really staying true to yourself and what you want to do. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Make sure you subscribe or rate on whatever podcast app you're listening to. And if you're watching the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Hope you guys are enjoying the episodes. My goal is to get out an episode every Monday. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next episode. Bye.